welcome to my Stoney Through Disney Infinity's Star Wars. In this video, we're going to take a look at some gameplay clips from not only the Rise Against the Empire playset, which you are seeing right here, but also the Twilight of the Republic playset, which comes with the Disney Infinity 3.0 starter set. And I have to say, the reason why I just had to make this video is because I have not played a game like this that was this surprising, this enjoyable, and just this much fun in a long time. Now, I have been aware of the Disney Infinity series since it came out, I believe 2 years ago. And I was kind of intrigued at the time. I actually wanted to check out the Lone Ranger playset because, unlike most people, I actually enjoyed that film. And I wanted to play the Pirates of the Caribbean playset, but I ended up never getting it because I just didn't want to invest in the whole figurine thing. It just didn't seem like a big deal to me. It wasn't something that really interested in me. That's not English at all. There is something that I am doing for this video, unlike my other Stoney Throughs. I am not going to be cursing or making references to what makes this a Stoney Through, because this is a game meant for everyone. And that's actually one of the things that I love about it the most. This is not just for kids. This is a game that, by and large, is made for fans like you and me. And if you're a Star Wars fan, this game is fantastic for getting to relive your childhood experiences. But because most people who are fans of Star Wars and who would want to play this, if they have kids, this would be one of the most incredible things to share with them. I mean, literally, when I was playing through this, I'm just like, this would be amazing if one day I had a kid and I was just sitting here playing this and showing him, like in the Rise Against the Empire playset, this condensed version of the trilogy. Because my kids are going to grow up watching Star Wars from the moment they're born, okay? Star Wars is like one of the greatest film experiences of all time, if not the greatest. And it's not because of the amazing inventiveness of the plots, well, not really the plots, but the world themselves. You know, it has little to do with a lot of the things that other people pick for the reasons it's the greatest. For me, these films have just such a classic heart of adventure and presenting these good morals. And, you know, I'm not one of those kind of people that really has good morals, but I've always appreciated stories that try to show good overcoming evil. But that's a really hard sell, especially for cynical people. And I can be a very cynical person. As a matter of fact, I was very cynical when I heard about the Disney Infinity Star Wars stuff. I'm like, oh, really? They canceled Star Wars 1313, and we're getting this? It's like a fucking Disney. Oh, I apologize for those who I did not mean to curse. That was literally something that just came out. I apologize. I was not going to curse in this video. That was a one-time thing. If there's any kids watching, don't say that. Please don't get me in trouble. I promise this is a family-friendly game, so I want to be a little family-friendly, even though the nature of these videos is not family-friendly. But, you know, I didn't want to see them turn Star Wars into a cartoon. I didn't want to see them turn Star Wars into a Disney cartoon. And I like Disney cartoons. But then I got this game, and I played it. And I was like, this is a Disney cartoon, but in the best ways possible. Because Disney cartoons, a lot of the time, present those classic morality tales of good overcoming evil. And, you know, I like when a story does something original and maybe gives you a darker ending. But even when I like dark endings to films, I like them to be a victory for good. Even though a lot of people may look at those and they might see the ending as sad or tragic, I'm looking at it saying, no, this ending isn't sad. He's triumphant. He did what he wanted to. For a good example of this would be Gladiator, an incredible film. And a lot of people think the ending is really sad because Maximus Meridius, however to pronounce his last name, because he dies. But in actuality, he overcame everything and got his revenge. And took down the evil. Like, that's the best possible scenario for the ending. That's not a tragic ending at all. Like, I don't, like, okay, I cry a little bit at the end of Gladiator, because it is sad. I mean, it's a little sad, but, like, when those credits roll, you're just like, no, this isn't sad at all, man. He won. Like, he gave his life, but he won. And that's something that I think is important when you're presenting a good versus evil kind of thing. You could present it in a really cheesy way like a lot of children's shows and children's movies do. But Star Wars has found that universal approach to good versus evil, but they're able to make it seem clever, mature, and smart, and it comes off with heart and believability instead of just, oh, good, blah, 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 blah. This is such an old, tried and true storyline. And that's the thing. Star Wars, like, the story itself of Star Wars is nothing new. It's classic fantasy, chosen hero thing. We've seen the plot line billions of times, but it's not the plot that makes Star Wars Star Wars. It's not even the characters. It's not even the lightsabers or the Jedi. It's the heart that all of those films have. And I could be very cynical about the prequel trilogy, and I was for a very long time. But when I sat back and rewatched them over a period of time, I started to appreciate them more and more because they do capture that heart that is so essential to the Star Wars mythos. Without that heart, Star Wars is not Star Wars. And that's what Disney Infinity captured in their Star Wars sets, more than anything I have ever seen in a Star Wars game. We're looking at the trench run, the famous trench run from A New Hope. I mean, there are a lot of people who say that Empire is the greatest Star Wars film, but this was the one that started it all. And while A New Hope might be slower than the rest of the Star Wars films, when you look at that film and you try to appreciate it as if you're seeing it in 1977, this scene is one of the most incredible in cinematic history because nothing had ever been done like this before. And capturing the way that you felt as a child watching that Death Star trench run in a video game is damn near impossible. Cripes, I keep doing it. Ugh, sorry. I'm just going to have to say I'm sorry and move on. But capturing that feeling that you felt when you saw Luke doing the trench run on the Death Star, finding a way to make that playable and capture those feelings is impossible. But Disney Infinity really did it. You know, this section is on rails, and some of the other space sequences in the Star Wars set take place in a more free, open space environment. But there are a lot of times where you're put on rails like this, and it plays out a bit like the old Star Fox games. Star Fox for the Super Nintendo and the N64. Those were some classic, amazing games, okay? They're simple by today's standards, but they're amazing nonetheless. So the fact that they were able to create sections that feel like not the Star Wars sequences, but also give that classic sense of fun that a game like Star Fox had, that's even more incredible. And they absolutely did that with these sections. If these were not linear, I think that if they were not on a rail, it would not be as fun of an experience. And I know that a lot of people look at games for complex mechanics today, for deep, detailed storylines, but as much as gaming is an art form, it's an art form because unlike so many things, gaming has the power to be one of the most fun and enjoyable experiences out there. I mean, you are entertained from start to finish because you're in control of the action. This game goes back to that simple kind of gameplay. They have a great narrative because they are following one of the greatest narratives in cinema history. They've condensed it and they've reimagined it to make it plausible for gameplay's sake. Now, some of the things they've removed and changed irk me a little bit as a massive fan. But when you look at the entire experience as a whole, it's impressive to say the least. Now, as much as the game is impressive and incredibly fun, there is that cynical part of me that's thinking, this Disney Infinity series is a major greedy cash grab. I mean, look at it. You're releasing these figurines that allow you to play as a character. It's like, you know, doing microtransactions for getting a character to play in the game. What if, you know, in the old Lego Star Wars games, what if to play as more than the 2 characters on the starting level, what if you had to buy each character to play the extra characters? And I don't think that that would have worked back in the day. I definitely don't think microtransactions would work. But here's the thing. There are other companies already doing this game, this business model where you're releasing basically characters to play in your game as figurines that you get. You know, if you break it down to the simplest forms, it's like having to go get a disc to put in to download the character, except you're placing it on a base. So there are a lot of people using this business model. And here's the thing. Disney saw the dollar signs that could be achieved with this, but they could have easily made a half-assed game, especially when they have the Star Wars license. This Disney Infinity 3.0, they could have completely half-assed it. I've not played the previous Disney Infinity games, so I can't talk for their quality, but I did go back and look at reviews of them and videos and try to see if the quality was as high as it is in this game. And the quality has always been high. It appears to be. You know, I definitely want to pick up Disney Infinity 2.0 and check out some of those play sets, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy one. That one looks really, really fun. I heard that it was kind of one of the more mediocre play sets, but it's Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's one of the few films recently that's captured that kind of Star Wars vibe from the good versus evil, so I really want to check that out. Now, this is something that I looked at briefly. Like, I knew that there was a whole other game outside of the play sets, but you know, my thing was playing the Star Wars campaigns because they're capturing the prequel trilogy, they're capturing the classic trilogy, and that was the thing I really wanted to look at the most. But then seeing these classic Star Wars characters run through these Disney environments, and I love Disney films. I'm not a fan of the company, but I love their films. I love the theme parks. I've grown up on them. There was something about this that didn't feel cheap or cheesy. It didn't feel like a shameless cash grab. They're making each character that you play as very unique to themselves. I have seen some characters share animation sets, possibly weapons or a few things, but each character does have their very sense of individuality. And that's very important, especially when you're having to pay for each additional character that you're going to play as. Now, I picked up the Saga Startle bundle set, I guess. It's about $100, and it comes with the Twilight of the Republic play set, and then it comes with the Rise Against the Empire play set, and you also get a Boba Fett figurine, which is exclusive to this set, which is only available on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. And the Boba Fett figurine is exclusive to this set until later this year, I believe. It will be released on its own, but not for quite some time. And, you know, having just said that, I spent $100 investing in this game. And that was just out of my sheer love for Star Wars. Sunday really, when I saw the trailer for The Force Awakens, I immediately was getting so excited for that film because it's looking to be one of the most incredible film experiences of my lifetime. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Everything I've seen from that film shows nothing but promise that they are delivering an experience for people who love the Star Wars saga as much as I do. And that's incredible. And that's what this game has done. You know, playing these play sets, I'm getting to experience things that I loved from the Clone Wars TV series, from the Star Wars prequel films even. They have done a great job in the Twilight of the Republic playset in crafting an original story that really runs through the Clone Wars TV series more than even the prequel trilogy. Because the Clone Wars TV series is kind of its own thing, even though it's set during the prequel trilogy. It takes its own storylines. And it's really cool that they were able to craft a storyline and a narrative around the Twilight of the Republic playset to give you all these sections that feel like they're from everything from the prequel trilogy, capturing all of those favorite moments and experiences that you always wanted to experience yourself. And that's what's so impressive about this. You know, I think when they were doing the Rise Against the Empire playset, they had possibly a more easy time going about that because they were just following the original trilogy story from start to finish. And that gave them creative license to change a few things and set the levels predominantly in different sections of the films. You know, they definitely cut things down, extended other things. You know, they made the storyline work for the gameplay purposes they wanted to provide. But, you know, they had that structure with the Twilight of the Republic playset. Sorry for my stuttering. That happens when I'm doing Stoney Throughs. That's my one and only reference to what this video actually is in the background, okay? But what they've done with this playset is to provide a narrative that captures the storyline of the Clone Wars TV series, which has massive fans. I love that. It's one of my favorite TV series, possibly only rivaled by Star Wars Rebels, because that series in of itself is incredible as well. If you haven't seen it and you're really doubting how Disney is going to treat the saga and the franchise, go watch Star Wars Rebels, because they're handling this series incredibly. You know, with Marvel, I don't know. I don't really appreciate the things they're doing with the Marvel franchise as much. But when it comes to Star Wars, looking at this game, they are not treating this franchise as the cash grab it could be. Yes, they are definitely out to make money off of all of us fans. But that's the nature of the business, and if they didn't make money off of these things, they wouldn't exist in the first place. So the fact of the matter is, they are putting in all of their effort to make incredible quality games, TV shows, and films. And that's the best thing that we could hope for as Star Wars fans. Because deep down, we've all wanted more Star Wars. We all wanted more growing up, and then we got the prequel trilogy. And there were those cynics that found the faults in those films. And there were a lot of faults, especially with The Phantom Menace. But I love that film for its heart, and it's incredible in a lot of other ways. It has its cringe-inducing moments. But if you just sit down and try to experience that film just as pure escapism, it succeeds. It's entertaining from start to finish, and it's fun. I don't understand why everyone in the gaming world and the nerd world in general have all gotten so cynical that they forget that all of these things, even though they're art, even though they're more than just entertainment, at their very basis, the reason that they were created was to entertain. You know, of course they're more than just entertainment. But the reason that these things are created in the first place is to entertain. And they do a phenomenal job of that. This game is incredibly fun. Yes, we're seeing the Star Wars characters look like toys in Toy Story. This looks like a Disney-fied version look at the Star Wars series. That's how the visuals come across. But the stories, they capture the same feeling of the films. They haven't, like, cleansed it and made it this kiddie thing. They've added additional humor. They've put some certain silly things into the narrative and into the cutscenes, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's always been silly moments in the Star Wars films. There are always those moments to offset some of the truly dark things that are happening on screen. There's nothing wrong with having family-friendly humor in a game that is clearly meant for everyone. I love things that are meant for a mature audience. I love being treated as an adult. But I will say this about the Star Wars Clone Wars TV series and Star Wars Rebels. Those are made for a mature audience. They treat the audience as mature, smart individuals that are actually watching a real story and not just some bland kiddie crap. But they make it to where they have moments that offset the dark things happening on screen. They have things that make it fun and entertaining and not soul-crushing. These are things meant to inspire the minds of children, but also to provoke thought in the minds of adults, and also to make adults relive their childhood. You know, we could all be cynical about our lives, but we should, you know, enjoy it. We only get one life. And we all enjoyed kiddie stuff when we were kids, because we were kids. You know, there's no child, I don't care how much of a badass you are, there's no child that at one point didn't sit down and watch a Disney flick and enjoy it. Okay? Even the most cynical bastard friend I have has admitted, yeah, when I was a kid I watched Lion King, I love that shit, but like I outgrew it. And I'm like, but why? Sure, your taste has expanded because you can appreciate slower, more character-driven stories and things that aren't just simplistic fun. But why does it mean because we're older and because we have a wider taste and because we're more mature and more intelligent that we can't enjoy things that are meant to be fun? I don't understand that. How can you not have fun walking around these worlds that we've, at least if you're a fan, growing up seeing with the classic music and just feeling like you're a part of that universe? That's a feeling any Star Wars fan has always wanted. And these games actually capture that feeling more than anything else I've seen. As a matter of fact, between this game and Knights of the Old Republic, this game captures the feeling of the Star Wars universe even better than that game. And I know that's a pretty heavy thing to say because Knights of the Old Republic is probably one of the greatest video games in the history of video games. It's an incredible experience. There's nothing bad you could say about that game. Nothing. Yeah, it had some bugs, okay, but it was an incredible experience all around. I'll gladly take some bugs, glitches, and, like with the Phantom Menace, some cringe-inducing moments if the overall product is incredible quality and invokes those feelings that I want from that kind of experience. That's what this Disney Infinity stuff is doing for Star Wars. And for me, you can't put a price tag on that. And I'm happy that Disney is not charging as much as they could for these things. They could have charged $120 for the Saga Starter playset because we would pay for it. Star Wars fans would pay for this stuff. But they're doing it in a fairly decent way, which is kind of surprising given the fact of how greedy Disney is. So if you're really interested in this game, I highly suggest you check it out. I have a review of the Rise of the Empire playset on my blog. You can go ahead and check that out at megamediaoverload.blogspot.com. And we'll catch you in another Stoney Through next time, guys. Thank you so much for watching.